I love hanging out with Craig Woodard Sr. Here he is, president of Down Syndrome Association of Tampa Bay. So great to see you as always, Craig, and to see Junior with you. Thank you for bringing him in.
Absolutely. I couldn't come back on the show. I've been here so many times with you, and it's such a pleasure, and I appreciate you having me back. But I had to bring the star with me today, and to see your face light up when you turned the corner and saw him sitting there was priceless.
Well, he has that effect on everyone because then as we walk through the building, everyone comes out to see him, to say hello, to meet him. So that's kind of how it is, like, especially the ladies.
Yes.
Craig Jr., the ladies love you.
Absolutely. He's smiling.
Let's just get right into this. This is a really deep discussion we're going to have today, and I appreciate you coming in and educating me, educating our listeners. Being at your events in the past, as I've been at Down Syndrome Association of Tampa Bay galas, and hearing you speak, there's something that you address almost at each event, and usually it's at the end. And I've always noticed, even before we are here, because of the reason, something that I've always noticed, and that is you say, let's get rid of the R word. Let's not use that word. It is hurtful.
Yep.
And I want you to explain. I've always known that that's important to you because I hear you say that.
Yeah.
And as of late, you have a movement and you're trying to take it a step further.
Yeah. First of all, let me just address what you just mentioned. When you are put in a position, personally, where you have someone that has a disability, you look at life through a different lens. And I've always wanted to share my vision that I have learned with everyone else. The time is now. It's 2024. We all, when we were young, used to use the R word. Some still use it as adults. Craig Jr. was born April 13th, 2014, and changed our lives forever. He was blessed with Down syndrome, and it was probably the best thing that ever happened to our lives. That extra chromosome, the extra 21st chromosome that he was blessed with, is a chromosome of love. And if you haven't been around an individual that was blessed with Down syndrome, I encourage you to do so. You can come out to our events. You look at our website, www.dsatb.org, and participate, volunteer, come out and spend some time with one of these angels. Totally changed our perspective. My father once told me that, I remember calling him when we found out our positive diagnosis of him going to be born with Down syndrome. My father told me, he chose you. He chose you. You and your wife, Christine, are going to do something special down the line. I don't know what it is, and you don't know what it is, but it will happen. February 23rd, 2018, we created the Down Syndrome Association in Tampa Bay. We advocate for individuals blessed with Down syndrome like Craig Jr. and his peers, and a lot of people like him. We have people with special needs that come in that are autistic, all types of different special needs. So the word that starts with an R really touches my soul in a negative way. And I heard this word a number of times on local radio, and it just bothers you. You shouldn't have to drive down the street and hear that word in the media. So I decided, I'm like, just like probably many other people, we have to petition the FCC. We gotta say something. This has got to be it's got to be 8 banned words, not 7. And instead of trying to fight the giant, I figured, you know what? Let's start locally. So I know a number of people here, including yourself, Roxanne, who has been a huge advocate as well. I figured let's start locally with the radio host, with radio TV or radio in Tampa, and see if people would take a pledge to not use the R word in local radio here in the Tampa Bay area.
I'll take that pledge. Pretty easy to do.
We got our first.
Sign me up.
We got
Where
our.
do I sign?
So it just makes sense. I know I'm speaking for a lot of other people out there, that may not have the means of reaching out to someone that has a huge platform like yourself, like some others here locally, on the radio stations. And when I mention this to you, and we talk often, especially about this situation, you were just so kind to say, listen, come on my show, let's discuss, let's talk about this, and let's make it happen. And that's my main reason why I'm here today, is for this radio pledge.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to mention. First thing, when you describe Craig Jr. and you say these angels, and I think that is a perfect description, because that extra chromosome, I've never heard it put that way when you said it's a chromosome of love. Yeah. That is truly what it is. That is all they have in their hearts. That is all they know. And it is angelic, because that is how we will be, depending upon your beliefs. And mine are that someday, when your earthly baggage isn't weighing you down, that is all we will be, is love.
Absolutely.
So that's a perfect way to describe Craig Jr. and other people born with that ability.
Yes.
The second thing I want to say is, I should ask you, is people will say, okay, this is just a word. It has other definitions, or I should say similar definition, but used in a different context, and we can't go banning words. And again, we're pushing for a pledge. I'm not going to say that. I don't want kids to hear that. Right. I don't want families to have to hear that.
Yes.
But I want to hear what you would say to those people who say, hey, this is just a word. We can't be banning words. We can't weaponize words. I have an answer, but I want to hear your answer first.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty simple. It's June. Two things come to mind when I think of June. Number one, my birthday, June 26, 1974. Yes. I'm going to be 50 this year. So we got my birthday month, but also Juneteenth. June 19th, 1865. The slaves were finally free. It's the true Independence Day. Not July 4th. Because everyone truly wasn't free on July 4th. June 19th, 1865. We talk about the N-word. It's just a word. It was a word that was used to diminish African Americans. It was a word that was used to make us feel as low as possible. It's a derogatory word, probably one of the most nastiest words ever out there. And I don't use the word. I don't use the word. Now, what we have done as a race is we have taken over that word. We have stripped the power from that word. And we have changed the spelling of that word. And we use it in a different context, like brother or cuz. Black people have taken that word and changed it. Okay, it's just a word. It's just a word. It was one of the most horrible words out there, but I still choose not to use that word. I still choose to teach my 3 boys not to use that word, because deep inside there's still a lot of pain there. The R word, it's just a word. There's still a lot of pain in that word, and there's still people that it affects that are in the disabled community. People say, well, it has a meaning to it, meaning slow. Okay, well, if you are talking about in the context of someone being intelligent, and then you use the R word as the total opposite, that's disrespectful. That's disrespectful to my son, who has an IEP, an individual education plan, who is on access points, and he's an ESE student, and that extra chromosome gives him an intellectual disability, so he learned to crawl a lot slower. He learned to talk a lot slower. He learned to read a lot slower. The R word means slow in certain medical terms, but because of how people use that, it's disrespectful when you use it as the opposite of intelligent. My son is very intelligent, as you know. He's done some incredible things. Short story really quick. When he was 3 years old, he put a purple ball and a green ball on the back of the couch, at the top of the couch, the pillow cushion. And it kept rolling off because, you know, they're curved at the top. It kept rolling off. He's 2 or 3 years old. And he's looking at it, and he wanted it to stay, and it wouldn't stay because it kept rolling off because it's a ball. This little boy runs into the kitchen. He gets 2 spoons. He comes out, he puts the spoons on top of the pillow cushion on top of the couch and puts the ball in the spoon, and the ball did not roll off. 2 to 3 years old.
You did that? You did that, Craig Jr.?
You remember that,
That's so
Junior?
smart. How'd you do that?
Now, if that's not intelligence, I don't know what it is, because I probably wouldn't have thought about that, and I have a master's degree. You know, so when it's used as the opposite of the positive side, then I have a problem with that, and most people do have a problem with that, and it's very, very disrespectful. And there's many other words that you could use to substitute it. That's the point. There's many other words that you can use to substitute what your meaning for what you're saying is.
I feel like there's an element too where if Craig Jr. hears that word, he isn't going to give back negativity to someone. He's not going to be mad at that person. So guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Dad,
Mm-hmm.
you have to stand up. You have to bear the brunt of that. You have to be here speaking because he's going to be so kind.
Because what Junior would do is he'd go up and give that person a hug, because that's the extra chromosome of love that we're talking about. So think about how powerful that is when you can come up and call someone the R word, and that person that you're trying to disrespect comes up to give you a hug. How low do you feel about that? So you're absolutely right. I'm here utilizing the platform that you gave me to spread knowledge to the folks, the kind folks in the Tampa Bay area, to let them know that it's not okay. It's 2024. Let's put that word to rest. If you use it, please think about using another word, because everyone out there, in my opinion, is very intelligent, and there's so many words in the Webster Dictionary that we can use to replace that word.
Absolutely. Well, I want to take the pledge. So
Yes.
I pledge to never use the R word
Yes.
on the radio.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Anywhere. On a plane.
Yes.
On a train.
Yes.
I'm not going to.
Yes.
So.
And I have taken a pledge years ago never to use the R word. I'm on the radio now. I don't do this for a living, but especially not on the radio, especially in life ever. And we can get into, how do you handle that situation? Because Roxanne, have you been put in that position before?
I certainly have. Yeah.
I've been put in that position before too, at work, with a boss of mine. District manager was talking to me on the phone, and he's referring to something that was stupid. Why didn't he just say stupid? But he said the R word. To me, of all people, he says the R word. And I politely stopped him. I said, hey, wait a second. Did you just use the R word? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Well, that's totally disrespectful. My son was blessed with Down syndrome, and I'm highly offended that you would use that word, number one, to me, number two, in general, number three, in a working environment, And so he apologized, and then I went over his head and I told his boss what happened as well. That's one thing that I will not put up with. And then he and I had a conversation. Now, 2 weeks later, he's in my office and he's sitting in the front, and I'm talking to a customer, and the customer in the conversation uses the R word. Now I'm sitting here thinking, my boss just heard me get in his tail about this. He's going to watch to see if I'm going to get into this customer's tail. But it's a customer. So all I did was say, excuse me for a second. You just used the R word. That's disrespectful. I don't use that R word. Please just use another word. Continue with your story. That's how I handled it.
Okay, you know what? And that customer doesn't necessarily know about Craig Jr.
At all.
But I just love that. That's something, and he doesn't need to.
No.
The fact that we have the right to say, I don't stand for that.
Right.
That's not something I'm comfortable with. We should do more of that.
Absolutely.
As a society. And I have to say as well, if you want to say, hey, I'm exercising my right to speak and say whatever I want to say, you better be able to handle it when someone comes back and says, well, this is how it makes me feel, and this is what I think of that. And you have the right to say that.
Absolutely. And I also have a right to have to be the second party in our conversation.
Yes.
So if you choose to continue to use that word, I don't have to listen. So conversation over.
Exactly. Well, I love Craig Jr. to pieces. Sitting here with him, our children give us so much meaning in life, and what he's given you and Christine, it's just, you can see the love and what you're doing, your mission. It's causing us to have conversations like this. It's causing you to do all the amazing things that you do with Down Syndrome Association of Tampa Bay.
Yes.
And it's just incredible. So I'm happy to be able to be a small part of it, observe it.
A big part of it. Big part of it. And I tell you what, it's so funny because I know a lot of the other radio hosts here at Beasley, where we're at right now, and I'm going to be talking with a lot of them. And awareness creates results. And if people are not aware of how this makes people feel, then the result will remain the same. The main definition of insane is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, we're going to change the game. So we have to talk about it, and we have to tell people what our displeasure is, and maybe they learn a little something, even if it's something as in, part of my target audience may be disrespected if I use that word or allow a caller to use that word. Maybe we just not use it at all so that we can make all of our callers happy. And you can't make everyone happy, but that's an easy one to fix. It's an easy one to fix. And so I'm so glad that you have me here, that you're letting me use this platform to educate people, to let people know how it feels to be on the other side, and just to rally to give people to also take the pledge in life.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm taking it happily. Thank you guys for coming in.
Awesome. Thanks, Rox.
Perfect. And I just saw everybody.